welcome to the show. My name is Marlo, and today I have something very special planned for my Road to Vancouver 2018 series. Now, they've been described as the Furry Bee Gees, and perhaps that the torch has already been passed on to others. At the same time, they've also been described as the furry band since the year 2003, and a comeback is in order. With me today, I have both members of Sublevel 3, Wolff, the lead guitarist and vocalist, and Togo on the keyboard. Welcome. For those who are unaware of Sublevel 3, they are a band that creates music inspired by and for the furry fandom. Their sound ranges from industrial, techno, electronic with heavy guitar and profound lyrics.
They can only do harm. All I ever wanted, all I ever needed is here in my arms. Words are very unnecessary. They can only do harm.
They have 4 studio albums underneath their belt, and it's a pleasure to have them with me today. Welcome.
Hi. Hello.
Alright, so let's get down to brass tacks here. We shot the breeze long enough. 2014 was your last major performance, and it's been a long 10 years since the debut of Undercover, Sublevel 3's last major album release. So what is the current status of Sublevel 3?
Yeah, John. I'm going to defer this to John.
Well, like a fine wine, we have to age and mature to release the bouquet and cornucopia.
It's been 10 fucking years!
I'm sorry, did I just defer this to him? Well, I would like to take a crack at this. Life got in the way. That's just the best way that I could describe it. Both our businesses flourished. I was talking to you before the interview. It's just kind of like when you have something that takes up your time and you dedicate a lot of your personal time and creativity to, and all of a sudden that's gone. There's a blank space there that needs to be filled with something. And then slowly things just start creeping in, filling in that void. And eventually that void is filled with many other things. And that one thing that was the center of attention at one point is no longer there. So over time, you just kind of like go, yeah, I remember being in a band. I remember playing shows. I remember how fun it was. So, and I miss that. I really do. It has nothing to do with age. That's just that we started focusing on our businesses. Life changed. There were different things that happened. We started pursuing other interests that we had. We still work together, but just not as music folks. But, you know, and I was a pain in the ass for a while. Asking John is like, when are we going to do music? When are we going to do music? And it was the big question mark.
And a lot of fans are asking, when are you guys going to do music?
But this is the thing. We hear that. And it's no different than what it was when we did that video, you know, Rest in Peace, Sublevel 3. We heard that, oh, you know, the band broke up and they're no longer together. And we only heard through the grapevine and we made fun of that. And we put out that video depicting the breakup of the band. But we had fun with that. But we hear through, you know, our friends. It's like, oh yeah, well, the fans want to know. It's like, well, maybe if our website was working, maybe they could get in contact with us. You know, attending FurCons, maybe people, you know, us being in the public eye would allow us to see this. But when we're completely out of touch with that, people say that and we're like, what? The crickets. But if there is, you know, if there are fans out there still that are wanting to hear new stuff, then that kindles, you know, the little kindling in the fire, you know, you just gotta fan those flames, you know, and hopefully something will come out of it. You know, like I was totally stoked to find out that we're gonna be writing a song to add to this interview, because that would be exciting. I would like to, I'm super curious as to what 8 years does to our creative
muse.
Yeah. So music has no age. So physical age means nothing. Unless my fingers are all gnarly where I can't play my guitar or anything like that, then I think I could do this until the day I croak.
Well, I'm, for one, interested in learning and seeing where your musical direction takes place after so many years of learning and maturity, and to really kind of get a glimpse into, you know, what you were wanting to make. Yeah. So I, for one, am curious to see how things go in the future of Sublevel 3.
That makes two of us.
In a previous episode of mine, I talked about the importance of artwork in the furry fandom, that it being a catalyst and it brings people together in a collective effort to appreciate something beautiful. Now my question for the musicians here is, how does music impact the furry fandom?
Well, at first, everybody was like, what? You want to do what at our convention? We don't do that kind of thing at conventions.
Why is that?
Because live music was just unheard of at the time. It was a very novel idea because, you know, the fandom is, like you say, an art-based medium, but no one had brought forth a band to do serious music with furry themes. We were, I believe, pretty sure the first to do that. I think there may have been some other people in the periphery, but we were the first to, hey, we have a show, we have an album, you know, it's themed around, you know, canines and furriness, and so here we are.
Well, I imagine a lot of conventions having a lot of music so people can dance to it, so I would think that music as a general sense is very important for people to get up and dance and actually do something besides sit around in their hotel rooms at conventions.
Well, you know, the dancing that's a completely different genre. I mean, that's all, as you say.
But people don't dance to your music?
Well, they do now, but back then they didn't.
Yeah, they'd sit in chairs.
Nobody knew it. Like I said, this was something new, and nobody knew what to do with it, you know. And when we played things off of Music for Dogs, there's really no dancey music on there. There's maybe one track that's really upbeat. Music for Dogs kind of like borderlines that, because it's not really a danceable track. Like John said, most people would just be sitting down and they didn't know how to react to this. It was something new. That's what I was used to with my background in performing in other bands, is just people just either moshed or just friggin' stage dove or head banged in front of the stage. But I wasn't expecting that, you know, when we started playing in the furry convention, so people didn't know how to take that. And it wasn't until later that, you know, John said, hey, after Elements of the Paw, he says, how about we do a dance, you know, a really poppy album? And that's when we did Touch of Pink. And I wasn't a fan of that idea at that point, but it's what actually catapulted us to where we were a few years ago. I can't say that we are today because we've been out of the scene for so long, we might as well be dead. The furry fandom. So I'm sure, and the generations have changed. It's almost 10 years, you know, so it's a whole new demographic, and they didn't grow up, so to speak, listening to our music. So you're going to be probably talking to nobody at this point about us. They're going to be like, oh, are they new? And you're going to go, ha, ha, ha. No, they've been around since 2003. But that's what catapulted us into, you know, the popularity that we had, was that Touch of Pink album, because everything was so upbeat. Yeah, upbeat and pop-like.
And it had Touch of Pink.
And it had Touch of Pink in it.
Yeah, it's a very innuendo-y title.
Yeah, that's something I've never talked about, and it's just how dark lyrics are that I write. You know, when you say, oh, profound lyrics, you know, it's like I never saw my lyrics as profound. They were just me putting stuff down, either emotions I've gone through, and I've never really talked about my lyrics. I've always wanted people to decipher them however it suits them best.
Longing to hear your voice, to feel the warmth from you. A silver bullet through this lupine's heart.
Despite performing live up until the year 2014, practically, in hindsight, some people would argue that your guys' popularity at its height was a staggering 8 years ago. How do you feel your chances are in making a successful comeback?
That's a very good question.
As you and I discussed, that so much depends on a convention promoting our show.
There's a number of factors in place.
Yeah, so that's it has to be, taking a certain con in the southeastern United States about 10 years ago who didn't do any promotion, acted like we weren't even there, put us in some crappy time slot, and we may have had, 10 people, 12 people in the audience for that show.
And that's the first time I actually saw you guys live in person at a convention, tagging along with you, and I thought that was normal for you guys, having 10, 12 people show up, and I wasn't going to say anything because...
And then compare that to our show at Texas Furry Fiesta in 2011 when we shot our live video, and we had 450 furries in that ballroom, jumping up and down and dancing and being a part of our show. So,
And we only knew this as a fact because we had to have them all sign releases. And I just showed that to John a couple of weeks ago. He came over, and as I was looking through the closet for something, I said, here's a stack. And literally is a stack this tall. It's a ream of paper, of signatures. I mean, it's just everybody's release. And he goes, it's hard to believe that we had this many people crammed into one room. And that was the height of our popularity because, as you know from our albums, they're not all the same. Everything was different, and we were going a little bit to the harder edge of things. And I wanted to go a little bit harder at that point, more industrial, but that was then. Now, it's not what I'm searching for. That's why I'm saying I'm really curious to see where we go with this and what's going to come out of this. As far as, a comeback has many negative connotations to it because you could see it as a cash grab. We've actually even amongst ourselves said, oh, what is it going to be called? A cash grab tour? No. And, it's just no different than freaking Ozzy Osbourne. How old is Ozzy? Like 80 something years old, but he keeps retiring and coming back, and all these bands like that. And I don't want us to be seen as that. We never retired. We never stopped. We just disappeared. If we pick up where we left off, fantastic. But if we don't, fantastic. We're still doing what we like to do, which is the music, and those who would like to come along for the ride could join us.
Do you want to make new music and try your best to get back into things?
Yes. The drive that I had 8 years ago is much less now because of the other things that have, taken precedence in my personal life. The want to do music is still there. I want to do another Elements of the Paw type of thing where the songs kind of blend into each other and tell a story.
So, I know that we talked a little bit beforehand, but in this day and age, I believe that furries are becoming more and more mainstream, meaning that there are a lot more members in the community than ever before. And I also do believe that a comeback is feasible, since there are new markets available to sell merchandise to and to perform to new, fresh audiences. Have you ever considered performing in Canada?
Canada would be really cool. I've always wanted to visit Canada. It's our closest neighbor, and it would actually make us an international band at that point, and it would be really cool. So the answer would be yes, because I would love to see the country. I don't want to just fly into Toronto, let's say, and just be there in that city for 2-3 days and see nothing. I would like to see the country, experience it by driving through, stopping at little cities, towns, places and things like that. That's how I like to experience, new places instead of, yeah, I've been there. What'd you see? Well, the inside of a hotel room.
So, we're getting to the end here of our interview. Question for both of you. How did you feel about the fact that at one point, furries obsessed over you? Care to describe some cringy behavior by some furry fans?
fucking furries, fucking goddammit.
What? What?
Care to describe some cringy behavior by some of your fans that are furries?
I can think of two. One that was not so bad. Remember I was talking about the video and people thinking that they know you by watching that? I had a fan come up and put their hands around me, you know, giving me a hug and whispered in my ear, "I've missed you so much. And I've never met this person in my life." And I was like, okay, it's time to just embrace and kind of like take a step back as like, all right, well, nice to meet you, you know? And then the other one, I don't want to use the word shrine, but it's pretty much what that was. Happened to be invited over to their house, and when we walked in, I was just blown away by every album cover, every flyer, everything that we've ever put out, all the pics that I've thrown into the audience, just on a mantle, you know. And they were so proud of this collection, you know. Being on the receiving end from that, it is a little bit strange, you know.
He's your number one fan.
Yeah, exactly. It's your number one fan. So.
Okay, Mr. Togo, care to put your thoughts in?
Yes, I got invited to dinner in someone's room once, and then.
Any diaper furs?
Did you just say diaper furs? I was like, did I hear that right?
Anyway, I had a fan who was a big fan, who was kind of like Lenny's strange person. I've known you, I've missed you, and for whatever reason he was had a thing for me, and invited me up to his room for dinner. I thought that was really nice or whatever, and then he showed me his crate of diapers and things, and it was very awkward.
I never heard the story before. The story was going somewhere else. He showed me his big box of diapers. Oh, okay.
Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for grief.
Anyway, I'd like to conclude with a couple of closing thoughts here. So, I've spent some time with both Togo and Wolff before this interview, and it's been extremely interesting learning about their triumphs and defeats when it comes to music and the industry. Now, Togo, he can pick out almost any song that's being played on the radio or in the movies or on television with ease, and he knows an immense amount about the technical side of music as well as writing and cinematography. I'm not saying Wolff doesn't know all of those things, but I was present when he was listening to some music, and the levels of pure passion I witnessed was staggering. I was completely compelled by his sincere enthusiasm. It really was a sight to behold. I'm convinced by the two of you that your passion for music is real. Could you care to talk a little bit about your passion as closing thoughts to this interview?
Music, as you saw, it transforms me emotionally. Especially when I hear a good album, a good song, you know, I immerse myself in those lyrics and I translate them to me. That moment that you hear a song, you know a song is something when it gives you goose flesh. Get emotionally moved. Whether it's angry, happy, sad, whatever, it drives emotion. And that's what music does. It allows those of us who don't have a voice to be able to express ourselves. I live those lyrics, even though I may not have written them, I can feel them.
I don't know, I think my passion is the satisfaction of creating something that sounds good and then looks good. You know, there's a music video to follow or something like that, but it's just the process of creating and making a work of art, which all music is, and sharing that with people. So there's a great deal of satisfaction that people enjoy something that I've created. It's not necessarily, you know, oh my gosh, I'm going to make $10 off of this song, you know, and which might be kind of generous, you know, but the fact that seeing somebody so enjoy the thing that we have made is what inspires me.
And I really appreciate the work that you two do and the down-to-earth, genuine passion that comes with that. This has been Sublevel 3. Their website is sublevel3.us. You can also find them on Facebook at Sublevel 3. My Twitter is Marlo Seneca for news, updates, and further musings. I'd like to thank you all so much for listening and for viewing. Hope you all have a good night and take care.